Have you ever heard a sound that chilled you to the bone? A sound that simply wasn't supposed to exist? I want you to imagine something. My drum, just a thing of wood and animal skin, it spoke to me one night, and I promise you, it wasn't a dream. This story takes us back, way back, long before the roads we know were carved by iron and smoke. Picture this. A Yoruba village nestled near the vast red earth forests of Old Oyo. Here, the palm trees leaned in like wise old elders listening to the village gossip. This place was called Toro, and its people lived by the rhythm of the earth. They were farmers, drummers, and they deeply honored the spirits of their land. Among them lived a young man, a drummer named Adegbone. His hands were magic. Honestly, they could speak better and more eloquently than his own mouth. When Adegbone touched the drum, it wasn't just making a sound, it was telling stories. His drum was special. It would speak of rain long before the first drop fell, and it would whisper of danger before it even showed its face. One night, the moon hung full and heavy in the sky like a ripe, glowing fruit. In the deep quiet of his hut, Adegbone heard his drum beat on its own. It was soft, almost like a whisper. Gup-gup-gup. Bo! The sound vibrated through the floor, up his spine. He woke up trembling, his heart pounding against his ribs. The air was thick with an unnamed fear. What did it mean? He didn't sleep again that night, waiting, listening. At the break of dawn, as the first light painted the sky in shades of orange and purple, the village elders gathered beneath the ancient sacred roko tree. Its branches were gnarled and thick, holding the wisdom of generations. Adegbone, his voice still shaky from the night's experience, approached them. He spoke of the drum's strange, quiet voice. He described the soft, rhythmic beats that had woken him from his sleep. But the village chief, Bao Akinyul, a proud and stubborn man, just laughed. His laughter echoed unnaturally under the great tree. "A drum does not speak, boy," the chief said, his voice full of dismissive authority. "It is only wood and skin. Your mind is playing tricks on you." The other elders, though some looked uneasy, nodded in agreement with their chief. Adegbone felt a cold knot of frustration and fear tighten in his stomach. He knew what he had heard. But that very same night, an unsettling strangeness fell over Toro. The village dogs, usually quiet after dark, began to howl without reason. Their cries were long and mournful, piercing the silence. And then, something even more eerie happened. The forest, usually alive with a symphony of insects and nocturnal animals, fell completely silent. It was a dead, watchful quiet that felt heavier than any sound. And in the middle of this suffocating silence, Adegbone's drum beat again. This time, it wasn't a whisper. It was louder, more urgent. GBO, GBO, GBO. Each beat was a clear, sharp warning that pounded in time with his own frantic heartbeat. There was no mistaking it now. This was not his imagination. The drum was calling. Driven by a force he couldn't explain, a mix of terror and a deep sense of duty, Adegbone got up. He had to follow the sound. He crept out of his hut, his bare feet silent on the cool earth. The drum's call pulled him forward, away from the sleeping village and toward the dark, gaping mouth of the forest. The moon cast long dancing shadows that looked like grasping fingers. Every rustle of a leaf made him jump. The beat grew stronger, pulling him deeper and deeper into the trees. GBO, GBO. It was a pulse, the very heartbeat of the land itself. Finally, he came to a hidden clearing, a place he had never seen before. And there, bathed in the ethereal moonlight, he saw them. Masked spirits. Their forms flickered and shifted, not entirely of this world. They were the ancient warriors of the land, the guardians of the forest. And they were angry. Their energy crackled in the air, a silent rage that was more terrifying than any shout. The drum had led him here to see this, to understand their fury. They were enraged because the villagers, under the chief's orders, had begun cutting down sacred trees, trees that were homes to spirits, trees that held the balance of the land without offering the proper sacrifices, without asking for permission. They had shown disrespect, and the land itself was now crying out in pain. Adegban fell to his knees, paralyzed by awe and fear. He finally understood the drum's warning. He stumbled back to the village just before morning, his mind reeling. But it was too late. As the sun rose, a cry of alarm went up. A fire, wild and unnatural, was sweeping through the farms. It consumed everything in its path, turning the precious yam barns and the stores of palm oil into black, smoking ash. The livelihood of Etoro was gone, devoured by a fire that seemed to have a will of its own. Despair fell over the village like a heavy shroud. The proud chief, Balu Jianwu, his face a mask of shame and disbelief, finally understood his folly. He called for Adegban. His voice, once so full of arrogance, was now small and humbled. The entire village gathered, their faces etched with fear and regret. They listened as Adegban recounted his vision in the forest, the anger of the masked spirits, the reason for their punishment. There were no laughs this time, only stunned, horrified silence. The chief, bowing his head, admitted his mistake. He had let pride deafen him to the wisdom of the land. That night, under Adegban's guidance, the villagers prepared the proper sacrifices. The best yams, the finest palm wine, the fattest goat, they offered it all at the edge of the forest, their prayers carried on the night air. They begged the spirits for forgiveness. Then, as the first light of dawn approached, Adegban sat with his drum. He played. But this time, he wasn't just making rhythms. He was speaking to the spirits through the skin of the drum. His hands flew, telling a story of remorse, of respect, of a promise to honor the old ways. The music soared through the village and into the forest, a heartfelt apology. And the spirits listened. The angry energy in the air softened. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves like a sigh of acceptance. And then something miraculous happened. Clouds began to gather in the clear sky, and a soft, steady rain began to fall. It wasn't a destructive storm, but a life-giving shower that washed the ash from the fields and promised renewal. The spirits were appeased. The rain returned. In time, with hard work and renewed respect for the land, the crops grew again, even more bountiful than before. From that day forward, the elders of Etoro taught a new proverb to their children, one born from a hard lesson. Before dawn breaks, wisdom must speak. And they learned to listen, not just with their ears, but with their hearts, to the wind, to the trees, and to the voice of a talking drum. Thank you for joining me on this journey into our past, into a story that walks with our ancestors. If you enjoyed this and want to hear more tales that connect us to the roots of our wisdom, please consider subscribing to this channel. Until next time, may your path be guided by wisdom, and may you always listen to the quiet voices around you.